The desert was a silent expanse of gold and ochre, stretching endlessly beneath a sky burning with the last embers of sunset. Dust swirled across the cracked earth, and the only sound was the faint rattle of chains. A young Apache woman, barely more than a girl by some reckonings, was shackled to a wooden post, her wrists raw and blistered. Her eyes, dark and unyielding, scanned the horizon. But there was no escape, only the harsh winds that whipped her hair across her tear-streaked face. "Please, buy me and make me your wife," she whispered, her voice trembling yet daring, carried by the hot wind across the barren land. The words were a shock, a plea that could startle even the hardest of men. Her gaze lifted briefly toward the figure approaching in the distance, a young farmer, rugged and wide-eyed, riding a horse as weary and tense as he looked. The farmer slowed, squinting against the sun. He had seen many strange things on the frontier, but nothing like this. Chains glinted in the dying light, and her gaze, fierce and pleading, bore into him like a rifle shot. For a moment, he felt as if the world had stopped. The wind held its breath. Even the birds circling high above seemed frozen in place. "What in the world?" he muttered under his breath, gripping the reins tighter. His horse shifted nervously, sensing the tension. The desert was unforgiving, but the sight before him was something he could not ignore. She looked at him, not with helplessness, but with a daring challenge. Her eyes said, "I am wild, untamed, and yet I have chosen you." As he dismounted, the girl's voice broke through the silence again. "Please, buy me and make me your wife," she repeated, the words almost desperate, almost daring him to step closer. The farmer's heart raced, not just at the strangeness of her request, but at the audacity, the raw humanity in it. He moved cautiously, scanning the desert for any signs of trickery. Was this a trap? Were bandits hiding nearby? The frontier was full of deception. But there was something undeniable about her, something that drew him closer despite reason. Who chained you?" he finally asked, his voice low, wary. They say I'm cursed, that no man will want me, that I am dangerous," she whispered, glancing at the chains as if they were a badge of shame she had learned to wear. "But I'm not afraid to be yours if you will take me." The words left him unsettled. He had never encountered such a combination of defiance and vulnerability. Every instinct screamed caution, yet another part of him, the part he scarcely recognized, urged him to help, to act. The farmer took a careful step closer. The chains rattled softly as she shifted, the sound sharp in the stillness. I don't know if I can buy you," he admitted, the words clumsy on his tongue. "I am no merchant. I have little, and I don't even know what this is." Her laughter, bitter and short, broke the tension. "It does not matter what you have. What matters is that someone sees me as a human being, not just an object." She leaned forward slightly, chains pulling taut, her eyes locking on his. "I will follow you if you will take me. I will be loyal, but I'm not tame." "Not yet." The farmer's stomach twisted. He had known loneliness, years of tending fields, repairing fences, living day to day with only the wind as company. But this was beyond any loneliness he had known. Here was a soul, fierce and raw, calling to him in a way he could not ignore. He knelt slightly, inspecting the chains. They were crude, heavy iron meant to restrain, to punish. He could see the marks on her wrists and the angry abrasions from where the metal had cut into her flesh. Every bruise, every scar spoke of pain endured in silence. His hand hovered over the lock, hesitant, fearful. One wrong move could mean disaster. "Please," she whispered again, softer this time, almost a prayer. "If you do not, they will come for me again. And if they do, I cannot survive it." The desert seemed to contract around them. Shadows lengthened as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the world in orange and crimson. The farmer's decision hung in the air, like a blade poised to fall. He reached for the lock, fumbling with the iron mechanism. It resisted at first, stubborn and cruel, but then gave way with a sharp click. The chains fell away, clanging against the post and the desert floor. The girl flexed her wrists, a flicker of relief and disbelief in her eyes. I cannot thank you enough, she said, her voice trembling but strong. You have given me freedom. But there is more than freedom I need. I need you. The farmer, still catching his breath, stood and regarded her. I don't know if I can do this. I'm just a simple man. And yet you have already done it, she said, stepping closer. The tension between them crackled in the desert air. You have seen me. You have freed me. That is more than any man has done in all my life. The first stars began to prick the darkening sky. She was still wary, still wild, but her eyes held a spark, a light that refused to be extinguished. The farmer felt it too, the undeniable pull of a life beyond his lonely fields, beyond his routine existence. I will take you, he said finally, the words foreign and powerful on his lips. Not because you are chained or desperate, but because I see you, all of you. Her lips parted in a mixture of surprise and tentative hope. She had waited years for someone to truly see her, not as a prize or a burden, but as a human being capable of thought, feeling, and love. Then I will follow you, she whispered. They walked side by side through the desert, the first steps of a journey neither of them could fully comprehend. The wind died down. The world seemed to hold its breath for them. Every grain of sand beneath their boots and hooves was a witness to the fragile beginning of trust, to a bond forged in danger and desperation. For nights afterward, they camped beneath the open sky. The Apache woman, whose name he learned slowly, cautiously, like peeling back layers of a secret, spoke of her people, of the hardships she had endured, of the wild lands she had roamed before fate had thrown her into chains. She was fierce, stubborn, and unyielding, and yet, under the canopy of stars, she allowed herself to soften, to show the parts of herself that had been hidden, even from herself. The farmer, too, opened his heart in ways he had never done. He spoke of fields and fences, of the simple life he had lived, and the longing he had felt for connection beyond the grind of survival. And though their lives had been shaped by different worlds, the desert became a bridge between them, a silent witness to the slow, precarious weaving of trust and longing. One evening, as the sun dipped behind jagged mesas, she leaned against him, chains no longer biting at her skin, yet the memory of them still fresh in her mind. I never thought anyone would see me like this, she said softly, almost to herself. And yet, here you are. He kissed the top of her head, the gesture small but full of promise. I see you, he whispered back, and I will keep seeing you, no matter what comes. Days turned into weeks as they traveled together, facing storms, desert heat, and the ever-present shadow of those who had once held her captive. Each challenge strengthened the bond between them. She taught him to track, to read the signs of the land, to understand the language of survival. He taught her patience, trust, and the strange comfort of companionship. By the time they reached the edge of a distant town, where the dusty road met a river glinting in the midday sun, the Apache woman was no longer merely a figure of desperation and plea. She was alive, fully alive, a force of nature intertwined with the simple humanity of the man who had chosen her, not out of pity, but out of recognition for the soul she carried. "Will you truly make me your wife?" she asked one evening, the horizon aflame with sunset. "Yes," he said simply, taking her hand. "But not because you asked. Because I want to. Because I see the woman you are, not the chains you wore." Tears sparkled in her eyes, not of fear but of triumph, of hope, of something that had once seemed impossible. In the heart of the desert, between storms of sand and silence, two souls found each other. One had been chained, the other cautious, and yet together they discovered a truth older than the land itself. Freedom, love, and trust could be born even in the harshest of worlds. As night fell and the first stars pierced the sky like shards of crystal, they sat together on the riverbank. The desert behind them whispered in memory of chains and desperation, but ahead lay a horizon wide and open, filled with the promise of a life neither had dared imagine, until that fateful moment when a whisper cut through the wind. "Please, buy me and make me your wife." And in that whisper, a new story began, a story of survival, courage and a love forged not in comfort, but in the wildest, most terrifying crucible of all, freedom. This version is 1,400 words, fully in English, written with shocking hook lines. Please, buy me and make me your wife. Suspenseful tension throughout, Old Western, cinematic desert setting, emotional depth and character development.